All right. Good evening. My name is Dark, and I'll be your caster for this evening. We have a Division B East matchup between Ground Up and Braincellmates. It looks like we have both teams now getting ready. Before we get moving into our first matchup, let's take a quick view on the map ban and picks. So we did have Volskaya Foundry and Towers of Doom being banned out by Ground Up. Then we had Cursed Hollow being banned out. Oh, and Braxis Holdout banned out by Braincellmates. It looks like we're going to be going to Dragonshire. If you take a quick look at the standings, we see, as of today, this morning, I guess, we end up in 5th place, and Braincellmates, the view switched, has an automatic scrolling, but they are just below them, so very much both teams trying to continue. We have 15 and 12 points separating them, so obviously important matchup for both to try and gain some ground, either to move up the standings, make sure to ensure themselves a spot in the playoffs. Go back to the maps. Like, look, both teams are in the lobby. It looks like we're just waiting for people to kind of stretch, do some jumpy jacks and such. But looking forward to this matchup. Typically before during the pregame, I always try to get some feedback of potentially if there's anything fun or exciting that I may look up. Obviously, don't want to spoil any strategies or secrets, but I'm always up for having some interesting comps. Dragonshire being a map that very much, if you look at the history of this particular map in competitive, a map that very much usually requires a very good coordination. I know from conversations with pro players, typically this is the map you would take somebody if you think you have the better team because of the level of execution. If you have a offlaner and a rotational player, flex player that can help gain advantage, typically in the top shrine, that's going to very much help secure a lot of the objectives. And so very much this is the map. If you just think you're better than a team, you would take them there. And that's, based on what pro players would say, not necessarily my opinion. But yeah, Dragonshire is one of the more, I believe, fun maps, a little bit more complex because of that. Although typically you do see it played as the kind of usual 1-4 format, you a lot of times do see some very interesting comps. They try to take advantage of the different bushes, right? We have the different layout that we have of this particular map. Since there's a lot of opportunities for rotations, although it's not one of the bigger maps, it obviously does provide a lot of opportunities to get, for example, value from global heroes, being able to capture shrines, playing off of particular kills, etc. Very much can do. We can provide a lot of teams with opportunities, but all right. Looks like everybody's here. I'm just trying to double check what we're waiting on. But with that, I think I also figured the long-standing issue with my particular end game volume. So if those of you are listening up, let me know if you notice a difference. I've been having some issues with muffled type of volume with my sound, and I've been trying to troubleshoot it for the longest time. And I think it had to do with the particular program I use with my headset from Corsair, and I think it had to do with extra bass going through, and I switched to some different type of sound, and it sounds a little bit more clear, so hopefully that fixed the issue, so we'll see. But otherwise, there goes me trying to install time. Now we're moving right into our first match. They started the draft, so we'll move into that right away. We'll be game number 1 on Dragonshire. We do see a Johanna and a Garrosh van, followed by a Brightwing van. I think it's not surprising that very likely that Garrosh van is targeting. We do see the continued kind of practice of banning out Johanna, Brightwing, and Anduin. I think just very much in all divisions and NGS, probably the top 3 in every single division except I think D, I believe I remember saw. But we do see Vala being first picked right away by Ground Up, and followed with a Tassadar and Oriole. Obviously Oriole gaining more favor in the last few weeks after the patch. Stats of the Storm data that takes 20 years to upload. And then we have a Gaslow and Whitemane. Very interesting. Not often do you see Gaslow being picked. There you go. Oh, oops. So, let's see. Popularity. Yeah, it's Johanna, Anduin, and Sukov. They're the most either banned or picked in Division B, so that includes B East and B West. We do have a Rag ban, which I would imagine is very much targeting Majesty. And then we do see a Zero Toll ban. And I imagine that's very much targeting particular team member of Braincellmates. You do see Leo and Murden. Taking off laner, potentially. I thought so, maybe another DPS, but I very much am familiar with Majesty, and would imagine that we're going to be playing off laner. We do see the Maltail being picked up, and then Arthas. We do see a Falstad being picked up. Obviously, as I mentioned before, global heroes, as usual, on large maps specifically, gain value. Falstad is no different. So with that, I'll see you shortly in game number 1.
for combat.
All right, welcome back. I had a very brief scare with my game showing me the white screen of this game is not responding end process, and I was like, oh no, that's not gonna be good. But hopefully I took out the HOTS game cartridge and blew it out, right? Old Nintendo style. Put it back in and it worked, so we're good. We'll start with our introductions a little bit late. We do have on the side of ground up, Rano on the Arthas, Your Majesty. On the Maltial Army. On the Gaslow, Fangs on the Vala, and Nyx on the White Mane. On the side of Braincellmates, we have Protoss. On the Falstad, Jaeger. On the Murden, Amon, or Ayman. On Ariel, Nixus on the Tacitor, going down for first blood on the Tacitor, I should have mentioned. And then Jagger Rob on the Leo. Starting a little bit early soak in rotation. It's okay though to get an early death, right? If you get it within the first 30 seconds, that doesn't even count. It shows up on the stats sheets, but there is a difference between a 1 minute death, right, and a 20-minute death. We do see ground up trying to be a little bit aggressive. Maybe a little bit of damage. Arthas anchoring the triangle of death. We do have Maltial doing some double soaking. And so, as an offlaner, I know very much this is a matchup you want to keep an eye on. Because Leo actually surprisingly, in the meantime, very good camp pickup by Braincellmates to get the Bruiser out early to kind of help with that Leo. At least sustain themselves a bit in that rotation. Goes mid for some soak, but right away gets pushed off by the Vala and the Arthas. We have the rest, or the two members, and I guess the idea is that the Gaslow is just going to put turrets, be a nuisance on point. We just see the sun land on the... Oh, that's actually... I didn't even think about that. So being able to use the Tacitor wall to allow Oriel to whip them into that wall. I always feel like that wall is very just weird, cause, especially playing as a Diablo player. The sound is a bit loud. Alright, thanks. It might be just... I'll double check the settings. As I said, I messed around with them and it sounded good when I kind of played it back, but for some reason it changes. Maybe if I switch this. We do have both now being channeled. Malta trying to get a hold of that Dragonite, but with a Leo there, imagine it's not going to be easy. We do have the Falstad chunking the Vala. Arthur's able to hold the bottom point. But I don't think Maltial's able to get it. Just wait. And Leo misses Spooky Hand, and that's going to be enough to push it away. But now Falstad comes up to kind of help defend. And Falstad can very much make quick work of a Maltial. We do see... Did Falstad go? No, Falstad did go auto attack build. Oh, the transition. Okay, great. Yeah, that video, it's one of those things where it's, again, it sounds fine when I test it, and then when I actually go into the stream, a few things change that make the sound either louder or something. But good job by Ground Ups. Being able to very much now at this point, like about 2 minutes, they very much have had both the shrines. But again, a little bit early. They're able now to get the wall and one of the towers at bottom. Valsa does rotate mid to help the Maltail. We have now Vala stepping up. I guess Gastel's just there to kind of provide point control, and now Tazar being kind of slowed down. Leo able to switch the top shrine, so at least for the time being, limit some of the possibility of getting that Dragon Knight. I'm trying to think, what is the longest I've seen that it took for a Dragon Knight to actually be captured? I think just from casting and experience, I've seen it take up until I think like minute 10 or so. I'm not actually keeping it. We do have Falsa fly up to try and get a gank on the Maltail. Maltail trying to get away and sustain themselves with their Q, but will be going down. That last auto attack does secure the kill on the Maltail. We do see now Arthas move over to try and get that cap, but Falsa able to rotate down and get the interrupt. And now we finally see with that kill on the Maltail. Very good whip by that Oreo. Both shrines being controlled by Braincellmates, but now Arthur's going in. We do have level 10s online for Braincellmates, and with that, we do see Whitemane go down, followed by Arthas. And in the middle lane, he missed it. We also see Vala go down. And we do have the first DK go in favor of Ground Up. Right away, it gets going to get work on that middle. So let's look at some level 10s. We do have Mighty Gust, Black Hole, Entomb, Avatar, and Aegis. For Ground Up, we have Strafe, Last Rites, Gravel Bomb, Army of the Dead, and Scarlet Aegis. So we have both Aegis, right? We have Crystal Aegis and Scarlet Aegis. I can just make it a lot easier and say the Whitemane ult and Oreo ult. Then Tomb on the Vala, kind of caught out a little bit out of place. We do have Last Rites on the Val side, but we're able to walk away with about 150 HP. At bottom, we do have a 2v3, but Arthas, at least with a Whitemane for the time being, right until Whitemane runs out of mana, able to kind of push off Braincellmates. So they did secure that mid fort. Obviously very important for controlling that mid rotation. You don't see Braincellmates opt to do any other lane pushing or structure pushing and get their camps going. So we have bruiser camps for both being captured, as well as the siege camps. Erden was scoping out the triangle. Might be out of position, but of course it's a Erden able to dwarf toss away to safety. And that Maltail caught out of rotation, followed up with the Gasso, able to use Gravel Bomb, but with no follow-up, very much just a ult, maybe trying to peel. We do now have, with that Braincellmates able to build a little bit of an XP lead, 14 to 12. We do see Leo going Spooky Hand. And so I guess the key is, if you can land your Spooky Hand on the Maltail, then that's fine. But if you can't land it, that's kind of rough. We do have Arthas being focused. The wall comes out just a little late. Arthas is able to walk off. Army of the Dead is used. We do see them fighting under that spell shield of the Bruiser camp. Arthas walking to secure the bottom shrine. It's going to be in a weird position. We do have the sun come out. And then Tomb, followed by the black hole. But Gravel Bomb goes out. Vala using Strafe to try to get some damage out. Arthas getting low, but able to walk away a little bit. Might get focused down by that Val step, but able to get under the safety, at least for the time being, of the fort. Good route by Arthas. More so kind of dissuading members of Braincellmates from stepping up. We do have Arthas now walking into that bush. Gets stunned right away by the Murden. Trying to focus that Arthas. Whitemane trying to keep Arthas up. Drops down really low to about 300 health. And I think right here it's kind of showcasing that sustained power of Oreo. We have, again, Leo coming down for a very good engage. Lancing Tomb, but not much of a follow-up. We have Army Dead now coming up again. Gravel Bomb misses. Followed by Black Hole. If you're in, I guess it's maybe okay, but if you're ground up, you don't want to get in these very lengthy fights against an Ariel. It's just one of those that are very hard to win, especially because of mana issues. Eventually, we do see then Gaslow, again, a very good interaction with the wall, and the whip does secure the kill on the Gaslow. We do see members now of ground up moving mid to get them a soak, and Falstad able to outtrade Malthael top. We did have a 16 advantage, so this is a little bit of a rough spot for ground up. And with that, both shrines captured, and we get the second Dragon Knight. And right away we do see Braincellmates move up to the top. Oh, Gaslow does go down again. Do we have Tacit? Yeah, Tacitor is static charge build, so can do quite a bit of damage to that. Gaslow, we see from off screen, Malthael flies in, being kicked by the Dragon Knight. We do have Army now popped, trying to get an engage on that Ario, but Ario was still with pretty much full energy bar, not feeling like they need to use it. We do see the re-engage and tabbed by Murden. That whip would have been really good, but Malthael able to use that cleanse and gets punted away again. So with that, Braincellmates trying to get a push on both keeps, and that's with that they figured they have enough. Live to fight another day. This is where, you gotta, I definitely think everybody should go up here and just fight here, right? In the Bridge of Death. It's the best place to be. Do we see now ground up? Trying to be a little bit aggressive, realizing that with a 16-19 disadvantage, level 20 is online very soon. They don't want to be in a position where they have level 20. So we do see Gus go out, followed by the Entomb. Well, I mean, using that ult, able to sustain them for a little bit, and a lot of members of Braincellmates do go down. We do have so far a 3-for-none. Artha's getting rather low, being chased down by the Ario. Almost gets the whip, but may have to pay the price for trying to get that kill, and does go down. And this is exactly what ground up needed. I would say that fighting in that particular choke here may be a dangerous gamble, on the part of a ground up, but it ended up paying off, especially with a Whitemane. And I guess since they don't have Silence and Tomb and such, but yeah, if those members were in the Silence and Tomb, I think the outcome of that fight would have been slightly different. both teams trying to get their camps up. But even with that, we do see Braincellmates about to be level 20. And if you're Braincellmates, you want to try to capture this DK right away. And if you're ground up, you're just trying to probably play the game of Ring Around the Rosie. But I don't think you can do that much without a global or someone like a Murky or Samru who can just run around in circles forever. Looks like they're going to be very much... they still haven't capped it, so... looks like Braincellmates are trying to play it safe, but I imagine you want to just get it while you can. They're about a wave or so from hitting 20, but I think now it's recognized it might be a little bit too late. We do have that top bruiser camp that is pushing, so someone will have to respond to that, and it looks like the entire team is going to be rotating together towards mid. And there's about a half second before they're going to be level 20. We do have 20s online. We do see Wind Tunnel, Force Barrier, Buried Alive, Rewind, and Shield of Hope for... we do see now a fight breaking out mid. Silence and Tomb on the gas, so with the Wind Tunnel followed up. Whitemane able again to sustain. We do see Aegis come out. Last Rites on the Tacitor does secure the kill. Vala strafing away. And we do get a 1-for-none trade. And then with that, Braincellmates having to back off onto the safety of their 2 members of ground up, move towards the top to secure that shrine. We do still have that bruiser camp that likely still needs to be dealt with. That will take that top keep, and you don't want to just give it away. We do have Malta rotating down. They do recognize that Vala now is a little bit out of place. Emerged, and likely it's going to use that rewind to create that stun. Secures the first one, followed up with the foul state damage. Does remain true and secure that kill, and that's not a stagger you want to get, or a death you want to get. Mario a little bit out of place, now being hunted down by the Malta. Windtail does land partially in a weird angle, but Oreo able to just scoot away. But meanwhile, Falstad in a little bit of a rough spot, trying to get some damage out into the Whitemane, does get killed by the Arthas. Now, Last Rites being used, but Aegis comes out to save the Leo. That should be a penalty. You're preventing the Leo from getting trait value. Literally, the reason you pick Leo is to die. We do see Arthas, Whitemane, and the Malta move bottom lane. We do now see the Murden leap in. Army does get used. The focus, or gets a spooky hand on the Arthas. Again, they're trying to focus that Whitemane, but Malta does go down, immediately uses their buyback. I didn't mention that. They do have their No One Can Stop Death. It went down, immediately used their buyback to get back. We have Falstad now using that global to get back into the fight. If you are... I imagine we're going to see that Wind Tunnel maybe coming out here. Black Hole does go out, and Falstad trying to get that angle, and we do see now Wind Tunnel being used. Maltio isolated a bit from the rest of the team, does go down now. Although relatively healthy, it's still a 4v5. And now, because of that buyback, Malta did have that extended death timer now. Falstad flies to the mid to secure the third of the Dragon Knight. And at minute 20, at least with the Vala still up, I believe it's still kind of difficult for Braincellmates to finish unless someone dies. Then having a 3-5 or 3v5 advantage with a Dragon Knight can very much help secure that, but Vala likely going to be able to at least get this down halfway to health before they're able to get to the core. And we see that Be true. Although if you are ground up, you want to be careful. Do not group up for A2. We have Arthas a little bit out of place now, being focused by Braincellmates, able to kind of scoot around and survive. Whiteman's ult does go out. While not using Strafe to follow up, we have a very good disengage using Wind Tunnel with that DK. Braincellmates able to secure 2 keeps. So a very huge structural advantage on the part of Braincellmates, and they're content to just pick up the maps and paint it red. I didn't get to finish calling the level 20s. We did have Strafe, Death Siphon, right? Strafe upgrade. No one can stop Death. Legion of Northrend, Scarlet Crusade, and Bomb Toss. So this is probably the point of the match where we're just gonna see at 21 minutes, that's actually like about 20 minutes, teams just gonna be running around until the next objective, and then probably 10 minutes of this, right? This is usually the pattern we see on this particular map. We do, and usually people will go into the triangle and do standoffs. Ario, very brave that Ario just walking into the bush.
It won't be long before the shrines are ready for the taking.
No one was showing, so no one's showing. Let's walk into this bush. Usually not a good thing for a healer to do. Ground up having to concede that mid advantage to go clear that bruiser. We do have the next shrine in about 5 seconds.
Become the Dragon Knight.
So Falstad so far been able to get some pretty decent value from Wind Tunnel. And if you're ground up, you want to either try to bait that out or get in a spot where you're not all going to get gusted into a wall. Again, that's a very good kind of value of Falstad on this particular map. There's just so many walls, so many kind of nooks and crannies where people can get gusted into. We do have that Muradin go into the bush. Now Leo kind of out of place, but he's going to be able to Wraith walk away. But if you're Braincellmates, you can just stay here. Eventually, they do have to back up and deal with the core. We already have a few catapults. So, if you're ground up, you need to just either force the fight or very much you're just conceding the objective. Malta trying to get in on the Murd, and they are recognizing that we have to go in. Siphon does get used, but with that top tower still present, able to kind of fall back for safety, we do see the Entomb used, and now we have 3 catapults. 4. Malta did have to back up.
Blue team's core is taking damage.
Looks like now Grand Up is sprinting to try and get that bottom. Galso should have likely put a turret there. Don't think. No, they're not gonna get ill. Yeah. I think Gasla should probably try to put a turret or something there. And this is now a 23-minute. Malto does go down, uses her buyback right away, but not in an ideal scenario. If you're going to use your buyback, usually you want to try to trade and get value from that. But a 23-minute now Dragon with no protection, already down to 83%. Very much, I mean, you can just click it. If you're ground up, you're trying to just... Well, actually, it's melting a little bit faster than I thought, but now we have Siphon being used. Very much get kicks away, but again, too little, too late. And Braincellmates able to secure game number 1. GG. All right, we get Get to look at some of the stats. Vala. Actually, I'll say, thought it was the top damage, but it's not. It was actually Tassadar. Tassadar actually did quite a bit of work. As far as the death or kill count, we had a 16-7 advantage for Braincellmates. Healing output, I mean, both healers with their ages, right, did fine. Soaking, you know, pretty much about the same. I think, again, the big kind of matchup was top lane, as I mentioned before. Valsad making use of that global very much to get some rotations top. Able to put some pressure on the Malthael, and a couple times actually got kills. So that very much was important for securing I think pretty much the first and second of the Dragon Knights. Take a look at some of the talents. We did see Vala go W build. We do see that, you know, I think for the most part, if we look at the usage rate, I think it's like very much auto attack, even though it's been nerfed. And then Q build are the top two, with W build being the least of the used ones. Very much a very piano build from the Malthael. I will say that the Gaslo initially did seem like a good pickup early, but later on, that lack of range, having Vala being your only range, when you have a Tassadar that seemed to be kind of out of reach often. We get up to our map select. It looks like we have the next map up already. Looks like we're going to be going to Tomb. This was picked by Ground Up. But going back to what I was mentioning, I think the key definitely was the Falstad. A lot of value from using that global, able to rotate top, able to rotate down, provide support where needed. Level 20, having the infamous win tunnel, right? Because you win with it. Very good for getting some of those engages, either isolating members. I think it was one time where members of Ground Up were gusted away and got a kill on the Malthael. Late game did have, again, a situation where you have quite a few gusted into a wall. But now we're going to be moving on to Tomb of the Spider Queen. A little bit of a smaller map, where siege and wave clear is very much name of the game. But even though it's a smaller map, I think I looked at the stats before, where this map and I believe Volskaya are the two maps that very much tend to be guaranteed to go up to like 25-30 minutes. Very notorious for long matchups. So if you ever get the pleasure of casting like a Tomb, a Volskaya, and I think it goes to game 3, and I think it's Garden, you might be casting for 2 hours between those 3 matches. But I'm going to take a short little break. It looks like both teams are just trying to get a little bit of refresher and bio break before we get started, but I'll catch you in a minute. Alright. Like we're back and we're gonna get started going into draft for game number 2. Tomb of the Spider Queen. Right away we do see a Garrosh band, and again very much I believe that's targeting Rano. If you look at the stats, Garrosh is banned like 80% of the time. So continuing that trend, I imagine we're gonna see Johanna banned just because. Oh, we do see the Ario ban. I think that's good. I think Ario very much, especially in those very lengthy fights in bottom lane, able to kind of, you know, pretty much endlessly fight as long as they're able to output damage. Tatsuo actually did a really good job of also providing enough damage to keep the healing going. We do see the Anduin ban, followed by Johanna. So at least we got 2 like targeted bans, and then 2 of the just very general bans that we typically see. Although, obviously, Anduin still one of the top healers. Right away we do see Braincellmates secure that Tasseter. I think in combination with that Ario with the whip, quite a few times able to kind of execute that combo. You see now round up trying to secure the hero for Majesty. You did see the Rag being banned out last time, and they did opt to pick it. Likely this is obviously a map that's a little bit better for Rag. You do see the Leoric being counterpicked right away in Varian.
A great destiny.
Last matchup with the Arthas, we did see Army of the Dead, but I imagine this will be very much Syndragosa, right? You get a lot of value with Syndragosa on this map, pushing with the objective. We do see the Stukov ban. Stukov does make Arthas' life, or most melee's life, miserable. Most tanks. Except Stitches, right? Because you just hook that stick off. We do see the Zul'jin ban. We have a Alex, Trasa, and Jaina. With the Falstad again. Although this map's a little bit smaller, that felt that Gus is still pretty valuable. Now we have a Lucio. So one way to kind of avoid Arthas is if you're able to speed your team away. So if there are slowdown, counter it with that speed boost, especially the Bavarian. Once you're in the icy reigns of Arthas, don't think you're gonna get out unless you have that level 10 upgrade for charge. We do now see Vala being selected again, which is surprising. I usually do see the Vala being banned out quite a bit more, but what is Vala's ban rate? Imagine In Division B, the ban rate for Vala, or popularity, ban rate is 30, popularity is 55, so that means it gets picked or banned 55% of the games in Division B collectively. But with that, let's get set into game number 2 of this matchup. See you shortly. All right, welcome back. Game number 2 of the series. We're in Tomb of the Spider Queen. We'll start with our introductions for ground up. We have Rano on the Arthas, Majesty on the Rag, Nyx on the Alexstrasza, Fangs on the Vala, and Army on the Jaina. On the side of Braincellmates, we have Nixus on the Tacitor, Protoss on the Falset, Jaeger on the Varian, Mon and on the Lucio, and Jagarub on that Leo. Both teams agreed not to do the mid lane handshake, at least for the time being. Varian does step up, check that bush. Obviously, without that level 4, Varian is just a very big, just minion, right? They can charge. We just see the Brute. Take a look at the level 1s in the meantime. We do have Arthas going for the quests, Frost Peasants. Lucio. I guess if you're Lucio, you can get away with a little bit of aggressiveness against a Arthas. Not much Arthas can do, at least right now. Varian able to get 7 gems turned in. What a good move if you're Varian, especially pre-4. Again, you don't want to be caught out on the grips of that Arthas. We do have Braincellmates able to secure that bottom siege camp with the Falstad and the Leo. Obviously not much a Rag can do by themselves. We do see Vala going W build again. That must be a particular execution or strategy they're using. Falstad also going auto attack build. Both range DPS using, I guess, the least used of the builds that typically you see, or lesser used. And we do have Varian finally becoming a real tank. Never smash main tank Varian. Both teams did pick up their bruiser camps. Now Arthas a little bit by themselves. That wall able to peel. I believe they may have gone this slow. Yeah, we did have electric fence being used. Very useful against an Arthas to try to help create separation against an Arthas that has you in their icy grips. We do have both Leo and Rag trying to kind of see who's going to turn in and if they need to be in red. All the while, I missed the action top. Varian getting really low, but looks like they're going to be able to get away with that Lucio speed. Now Vala, a little bit out of place, is focused down. What looked to be a potential kill in favor of Ground Up is turned around, and instead Vala does go down. We do see the first of the spiders, the spooters, will be coming down in favor of Braincellmates. And as always, it's always the kind of question of, do you want to be the first one to get your spiders in? I've always read a lot of conversation and strategy, but I guess with a rag able to focus mid, Braincellmates do try to focus and support the top spider. At this stage, level 4 or 4 minutes in, quick work is made of, especially with the Jaina and Avala, the members of Braincellmates, and opting to rotate. Very good use of that wall to kind of try and slow down the rotation. The Varian does get the taunt out on the Jaina, but Dragon used by the Alex used that to kind of push off the members of Braincellmates. We do have the Leo rotate in. And with Rag, has 26 gems, desperately trying to get those in. Lucio caught out for momentarily, at least, by the Task's wall. They're still trying to peel, and Rag at least gets the last of the necessary gems. Bastet able to pick up that bottom siege to help support or counter push that bottom spider. We do have Leo and Falsab down here. 3 members of Ground Up, or 4 I should say now, trying to get a push going with the top spider. Obviously on this map, the top and the mid lanes, probably the 2 most important. You can argue that mid lane is the most important early, and obviously top lane being the boss lane gains importance as the match goes on. You do see Ground Up trying to get a gank on that Falstad, but able to E out the taunt on the Jaina, and this does get bursted down. Didn't see if Jaina had that many gems, but I imagine there was a few that were lost there. We do have the taunt now going out with level 10s. Now Vala gets focused. We have Wind Tunnel, Shield Wall, High Five, Black Hole, and Entomb. Level 10's just about to be picked up. You have Jaina back up. We do have Sulfur Smash, Siphon, Water Elemental, Syndra, Gosa, and Cleansing Flame. It looks like they do have enough, right, for that. Then Tomb on the Rag, caught out of place, and that's 20 gems. They're not able to pick him up, so that is unfortunate. You do not... Losing about half a turn in hurts quite a bit. We do see Braincellmates able to get that second spider objective to come out. The taunt goes out on the Arthas. Now varying a little bit out of spot. Cinder Gosa does get used. Turns off that mid fort. The taunt out on that Arthas. With that Cleansing Flame able to help sustain the members of Ground Up for at least the time being. Then Tomb does come out. Arthas nowhere to go. Siphon is used. Rag? I was gonna say, I didn't see where Rag came from. That must have been from the top because were they booped back? Braincellmates move top lane to secure that port. Still a decent sized wave, and Vala got to be careful. You don't want to be taunted, especially with the Taciter. That likely means you're taunted and then walled out, and you're not going to have anywhere to go. Braincellmates shift their focus to mid lane. Very likely this is going down. And that then just secures a 13 to 12 advantage, about 2 almost levels ahead of time. And that Jaina does move into that bush, and that's something you want to see. Entomb gets used. As well as Black Hole. Fortunately, Ground Up able to step away, at least for the time being. No kills being secured. Braincellmates move back to try to capture their Bruiser camp, and they're about 15 gems away from their third turn-in. While Round Up is about 30 gems, needing 20 more for their second. So this is kind of a rough spot. You want to be able to obviously deal with the waves and having to clean up, but then because of the vision and the lack of safety of structures, very difficult for your team now to step up and try to get any particular turn-ins. And we do see now the Jaina does go down. The Entomb being used, but Arthas was trying to go down there to get some peel going. Looks like Braincellmates are making the call to do boss, likely. Yeah, they don't have turn-in quite yet, or they do now actually. So you're going to be doing a boss and turn-in. Where's that little thing where you click on to get Davy Jones or Harrison Jones? It's up here, right? Somewhere there. Or is it here? Yeah, it's this. I forget, yeah. It's this right here. I just forget about that. Jaina caught out again by that Entomb, goes down and then Rag again. With 16s online, this is quickly now just getting out of hand. We do see the GG being called out. We do see Vala does go down. Maybe that GG might have been a little bit too early. It was just the boss, but now Arthur's in trouble. Trying to survive, likely to be going down. Gets away with about 50, and Lucio does go down. The Falsa being focused by the middle keep also goes down. Maybe Ground Up using a little bit of psychological warfare. Calling GG and lulling Braincellmates into thinking they could just walk into the core and finish it. With 2 kills, though. I was going to say that was going to be a very quick match. I just finished earlier saying that this is a map that typically, you know, will go 30 minutes. And here it was about to go about 10. But they do have their next turn, and that variant now getting low. And this is the fight you want to get, and unfortunately, because they had to clean up lanes, they weren't able to take advantage of that. Valsab will be able to get back into the team fight, as well as Lucio. Still, Ground Up doesn't quite have the next turning. Smash used on the Tacitor, but able to use Black Hole to disengage and get away. Jaina getting low again, as well as the Leo. We don't have Syndragosa quite up yet. Dragon is used. Cleansing Fame is going to go out and trying to secure that kill on the Tacitor. Using that offensive power, Molten Core now used to kind of help support the siege of the mid keep. Followed up, and now Syndragosa. And if you are Ground Up, you're recognizing we don't have the gems to turn in. We very much have to try to make a play off that kill. And that mid keep going down very quickly. And now the decision is, do you make the call to go and finish, or do you back off? And it looks like with about 15 seconds until Tacit is able to join, they are going to have to respond to those 3 catapults. Likely not going to do that much damage at level 15. Braincellmates able to pick up their bruiser camp. Did I zoom out all the way? No, I did. There you go. But they'd had, or at least Braincellmates did have enough, plenty, more than enough for their now. This is their third or their fourth? This is their third. Yeah, they didn't do the third with the boss. So that was surprising, because if they would have got their turn in with the boss, I think they probably would have been able to finish, because they had Ground Up had 3 members down, and GG was called, and that would have been a very difficult defense with the boss. We do have the Entomb get the Arthas out of place, but then follow up with the Smash. Gust is used to disengage, at least for the time being. Members of Ground Up having to rally back to their core and clear the top lane as the most imminent danger. We are going to be having level 20s online for Braincellmates. They're going to try and help guide the bottom siege, get rid of one more keep, but it's rather difficult because you have to be wary if Arthas has Syndragosa. We do see Rag trying to get that Molten Core. There's no interrupt, and then we do see now Syndragosa being used. Lucio trying to use that speed to boost him out. The Silence Entomb does come out, but seemed to be a little bit more of a disengage tactic. We did have Wind Tunnel, Glory of the Alliance, Mixing Fire, Force Barrier, and a Buried Alive.
My altar awaits the gems. Bring them. Bring me their power.
And I guess if you're Braincellmates, there's nothing much else you can do besides just trying to get this boss. Ground Up does have enough for the turn-in, but you're not level 20. They are looking to step up and check out if they're fighting, but you don't want to be in that situation where you're... So let's see if they're going to try and the Vala gets taunted, able to, at least for the moment being, get away, and a little bit of counter synergy with the Wind Tunnel and the Entomb being used, but we still have a pretty healthy boss making its way to core. A taunt on the Arthas in a very rough spot, being focused down by the Leo. Rag in a little bit of a bad spot, will be focused down, but that boss is not going to be able to do much work. That Arthas is being focused with about 400 health, able to now walk away, but the Vala is still and the Jaina is still alive, so but now the Vala being caught out of place. Syndragosa does go out, but that Vala needs to be careful. You don't want to be taunted, and with only Alex Rasa left, it looks like game number 2, and the domination will be going to Braincellmates and GG. So a very exciting series with Braincellmates able to secure the 2-0 victory and domination over Ground Up. Take a look at the stats in the meantime while we look at the possibility of getting an interview. Let's see. Do I do it in the NGS channel? That's the way to do it. No one's ever in the NGS channel. I can never message people. Or at least not people that I can recognize right away. That's it, yeah. Alright, let's take a look at the stats. We did have this time, again, Tacitor being the top damage, able to, again, help sustain or carry the team, right, with the throughput. Valsa didn't get as much damage, but got a lot of the kills, or stole a lot of the kills. Pretty good damage from that ball and the Ragnars. As far as healing, both healers did a wonderful job in the series, doing their best to keep up both or all of their teammates. As far as the offlane, Leo and Rag did their thing. We can get into a lobby channel. Let's see. We did see Vala Gingle that W build. Rag, I didn't call it the level 20s because a little bit of chaos at the end. We did see Rag go Submerge. Obviously useful if you're going to get taunted or potentially entombed. Maybe that's what happened. No, that didn't happen. I was going to say, I remember seeing Rag disappear, just show up from nowhere. But that was before they had level 20.
Hello. You didn't get Nixus, but you did get me.
Oh, no problem. I was just trying to look at who was in the match and message from the NGS, and so it just whoever just showed up first. I figured the message would be passed along.
All right, yeah. They sent the offlaner, the person that does the least amount of work in the game. So
Yeah, that's
so I don't know what I'm gonna have for you, but I'll do my
well,
best.
the good thing is you can tell me what you see from your perspective, right? Because there's a lot of free time to just look around and what's going on, right? But first of all, we'll start with saying congrats on your 2-0 victory. How's it? How everyone on the team feeling?
Feeling pretty good after those two games. Think we had a pretty good grasp. We talked shop before the game, and I think we executed our game plans pretty well.
Yeah. Going into like game number 1, you very much had the same draft, right, for both matches to some extent, having that Tacitor and the Falstad and the Leo. I think the tank and the healer are the only thing that changed. So moving into Dragonshire, maybe to remind myself, that was selected by you, correct?
Yes, correct. Yep.
Yeah, so you selected Dragonshire. And so what particular... Right away, did you already know we're going to be using these particular heroes, or did you kind of change it as you kind of went with the draft? What was going to be your approach without giving too much of the family secrets, right?
Yeah. No, I think we had some heroes that we definitely were specifically targeting in draft that we wanted to play, and we got some of them, and then we had to make some adjustments on the fly in order to facilitate what we wanted to do. But I think ultimately we're able to execute it correctly, or almost correctly, except for like the end fights where we were like getting a little bit too trigger happy perhaps, and not letting the map play the game for us towards the end.
Yeah, and so I think there was a pretty good time where I think for at least early, Ground Up was able to control both shrines very much for I think about 2 minutes, it seemed. And so maybe just to give a clue to people who are watching and don't play NGS, how do you go and deal with making those decisions, right? Because that trying to defend the shrine, the top shrine, the bottom shrine, and making sure they don't cap it for 2 minutes, that's pretty stressful, right?
Yeah. So anytime if you're not if you don't play an NGS or whatnot, anytime both shrines on Dragonshire are captured, the comms become insanely chaotic about who is able to do what and where everybody on the enemy team is. And I think we kind of had like a sort of like a 3 section type comm thing going on between Leo, Falstad, and the 3-man. And we just kept in communication about who could do what and who could be where to prevent the cap. And luckily, with Falstad's fly and stuff, we had a little bit of extra like utility there that made it a little bit easier to capture. So
Yeah,
or
and good.
recapture, I should
Yeah,
say.
and good, and very much good job on that. I think because of exactly having that foul stat, you were able to take advantage of the global to kind of prevent that cap. And obviously for Maltail, kind of difficult to deal with Alio and foul stat, so you were able to kind of
Yeah.
get that. And going back to the idea of your foul stat, very much we trying to get that communication going through to say, hey, Maltail's up here by themselves. Can you fly up here, right?
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. And I took the Leo early, but we kind of had once we banned the Rag, we kind of had an inkling that Mathael was going to be picked, and I was like right up front. I was like, this is not a matchup that I win, so like I'm going to need help from the Falstad. So like we just like had established that plan pretty much out of the gate.
Yeah,
Um,
and so
so
and I also offline as well, but that's something that a lot of times I always tell people is not always about winning, right? Because that
right, yeah,
you're not going to always be able to do that, right? For a variety of different reasons, either because of the hero matchup, the map, the layout, or just because maybe the player you're playing against they're very good at a certain hero. You're not always
yeah,
going to have to win. So I guess that communication of being able to say, hey, we need to draft something that can help with that rotation or whatever it be is very important. So,
yeah,
uh,
exactly.
very good. And so you were able to secure, I believe, the next 3 of the DKs and kind of open up the map. And at that point, you were able to get the mid keep, I believe, first. And so I think that's always kind of the very difficult part. So, how is your approach towards those situations where you have the potential of trying to end or backing out? What's kind of your approach to those scenarios that you have towards the mid late game?
Well, typically we try to throw at that point.
So the standard. So the standard. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I feel like Dragonshire is like a really hard map to end on, personally, and all of my seasons of playing NGS, I feels like Dragonshire is the one that like never really know what you can do because it feels like the core mechanic is really
Yeah.
good because it has the stun and
You
people.
never had a 4 team pretty much mosh caused by the core.
Right, exactly. So it's really hard, especially when they had like a high DPS Vala and Mothel who could also shred the dragon. So even when you're trying to push with the dragon, it can be difficult. But yeah, I mean, we were like I said we were just trying to let the map play for us a little bit. We got like I said, a little trigger happy towards the end there, taking some fights that let them get back into it. But I think ultimately we were able to be successful in kind of taking advantage of our macro.
Great. And so we get to that late game stage too. So I mentioned before that typically what happens towards late game on Dragonshire is this dance starts, right, where either you're
Hmm.
rotating between different shrines and then trying to control mid. And so how do you then deal with those kind of late game situations where it's pretty much the map is open, literally the next team fight is going to be the kind of winner, right? I think even then
Uh-huh.
maybe you had some leeway because of the structures, but with a Vala and such that could be shredded. The last
Yeah.
fight very much can will dictate who wins, even if you're winning most of that match. So what were the comms? What was your approach towards that late game situation?
Yeah, just being patient, and that's something that I think we're trying to work on is being like more patient towards those late game fights because, like you said, you can be winning all game long, and then you lose a level 20 fight, and suddenly you're pushed up against your core, and you get a couple more deaths or something, and you lose the game. So just being patient and watching the map I think Nixus was doing a really good job of like keeping us settled, being like, we can just wait, like we don't need to force anything here, we can just chill. And I think that was really helpful. So
Yeah, and I will have to say that combo of the wall with the Ario got quite a bit of use throughout the match. So that was a very good, kudos to your team being able to make use of that quite often.
nice.
Uh,
Nice.
Well, with that, you get secured game number 1. Moving on to game number 2, that was being selected now by ground up, and so we're going to Tomb of the Spider Queen. But you very much just said, "Let's run it back." Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we were like, let's run it back, but we were. I think those heroes translate well from map to map. The 3 heroes that we took, or in both maps. So I was feeling comfortable on Leo into the Rag, and I think Nixus was feeling good on the Tassadar, and the Falstead just again has the utility. So we just stuck with those 3, and then changed up our tank healer slots.
Yeah, and very much you were able to get that first kind of Spider Queen get, I think, mid, and that obviously mid is very important in this map because it kind of helps and stops with rotations.
Yeah.
They got theirs, and it, because of either the camp, I believe, that you got, it kind of stopped a little bit of that. And so for the most part, you were able to kind of get an XP lead. You got some very good kills. I think quite often you either found Vala and or Jaina kind of by themselves, which into an Arthas is kind of hard, right? Because the idea is, as a variant, I think it's kind of hard to kind of go, hey, I'm going to ignore the Arthas and go into the back line. And so I guess what are the comms in that situation? Because you have to do a lot of communication to try and get those angles, right? To get that back line.
Yeah, I think once the mid game kind of rolled around, I feel like we started to get into a groove where the comms weren't like as like precise, but I think everybody was more in sync with one another, so we were just kind of following each other around. And I mean, the comms were still good in game 2, but I think it was less. It felt less urgent and more just like we were just kind of understanding the flow of the map at that
Okay,
point.
great.
So
And so maybe that's what I was trying to get to, is like, is it always that you have a lot of comms going, or is it more so that, for example, like you just mentioned, where you just because of practice or experience together, you kind of already, you don't have to say everything, right?
yeah, I mean, it's also a lot when you're playing from a position of like advantage. It's like a lot easier to be like, oh, this is all fluid and nice and working the way that
Yeah.
you want it. But when you're losing, that's when like everything is chaotic, right?
Yeah,
So,
correct.
yeah. So I think it was just more of that. So
The idea of it's good when it's good, right? But
yeah, exactly.
let's move towards the end. I think you did a boss call, and then you ended up getting to pick on the Jaina and then the Vala, and then GG was called out. And I mentioned, well, it looks like I just earlier said that this is one of the longer maps, and
Yeah.
GG was called at 12 minutes. I was like, oh, I guess that's just me jinxing it. And so
Yeah.
maybe a little bit of psychological warfare being used there. How do you handle that? Because that's do you just say, okay,
So-
we're just walking to core, or what?
No, I don't. So I don't know exactly what was going on in that regard, but I do think from like I think I don't want to say it psyched us out but we were obviously like, oh, GG was called, but we didn't. I mean, I personally didn't think that they were like conceding at
Yeah.
that point. I don't think, like, we actually talked about it afterwards, and I said I don't think that us kind of like doing that core throw had anything to do with like the GG that
Yeah.
was called. I think it was more like it coincided because we had the boss push anyway. And I think that it was more of like it didn't like throw us off. It just kind of happened to happen at the same time.
Yeah.
And then
Because,
and then
it was 12 minutes, so that's still kind of very early to end. So
yeah. Yeah,
So-
I mean they had the wave clear to clean up whatever needed to be cleaned up as far as lanes and stuff with the Rag and Vala and James.
Well, and the death timer's just not that long either. So
Exactly, yeah. So I mean, I didn't take it as a whatever, like they were conceding victory or anything like that. But I think there was like a miscommunication about what our capabilities were with the tank, because
yeah,
or not with the boss, because I ended up like going bottom lane and doing some other stuff, and they were like, "Oh, you weren't with us," and I was like, "I didn't know we were trying to end. My bad."
yeah.
So
Well, with that as well, you had the boss. You also had turn in, so you didn't do the turn in with the boss. I think if you had the turn in with the boss, potentially you could have ended. But it's one of those things where I know you were trying to do the boss, and then you needed someone to go in and turn in and so on. So maybe it wasn't bad, great timing. But either way, you were able to kind of use that advantage, turn it around, and they had a brief moment where they kind of flipped it and went to your core, and so then they had that bit in their laps where, are we going to try and end, or we're going to extend this match for another 20 minutes? So.
Yeah. So when that happened, when they started running us down a little bit, and they have very much had the ability to do that with the Arthas and whatnot. So I was just like, hey, they're gonna just try to run us down after we lost the fort, and then we lost. So I was like, we just gotta, because I think we lost Varian as well. So I was
Tacitor,
like,
yeah.
Oh, it's a Tassadar.
Yeah.
We just need to back up and just kind of concede and let this momentum just kind of pass, and then we can, once we get Tassadar back, we'll have 20 in no time, and then we can just, take back the momentum. So. And we did. So
yeah, and then you were able to kind of get another fight and secure some kills, and then very much able just to go into the core and secure your 2-0 victory. But looking at the standings, you were in 7th place in Division B East as of right now. With this victory, those 4 points actually bring you up to I don't know the tiebreakers, but it brings you into now a 3-way tie technically with 2nd place. With 16 points, depending. I know there's other matchups going on, so I imagine that's going to shift a little bit. But technically, as of right now, it would bring you into a 3-way tie for 2nd place. So a very huge victory on your part. So congrats. But either way, I would leave it up for you if you have any shout outs or anything you want to say to close out our cast for this evening.
Oh yeah, thanks. Thank you first off for casting. Thanks anybody who is watching, and thanks Ground Up for the good games, and thanks to my teammates, all of them.
I was going to teammate. Only one. The rest of them I hate. Anyways, thank you very much, and congrats, and enjoy your victory with your teammates. And again, look forward to potentially casting future games. And so, good luck with the rest of your season.
Much appreciated. Thanks so much. Bye bye.
All right, have a good one. All right, and with that concludes our cast for this evening. Looks like we have one matchup going on, and with Kalamasi. So I'm gonna see if I can just raid that channel for those who are interested in still watching some more NGS. You can continue on there. But otherwise, thank you very much for joining me this evening. Again, I'll be hopefully casting some more games in the coming weeks, and so. With that, I am signing off. Thank you very much for joining me this evening, and I'll catch you around next time on the Nexus. Have a good one.